Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another one of these fabulous sneaky peeks. My name's Stephanie. I'm going to be taking you through a walk in the woodland or walk through the woodland. You know, this time of year, isn't it fabulous when you go out into the fresh air and you can smell the smells and you actually kick the leaves up, and sometimes they're crunchy and sometimes they're even a little bit soggy, but it's the colours, it's the way that that whole season feels. And if we're lucky, we even see the odd little animal. Well, that's the sneaky peek that I'm going to give you now. So this is what we've got launching this week. So first of all, we've got our woodland hares. And we've coloured them using the Charisma in different colourways so that you've got variety when it comes to working. And I'll go through with you, for those of you that don't know anything about Charisma, we'll talk about all the different little elements. So these are the woodland deer, which we've also got included in the collection. We've got the bird's nest. That's going to be really, really useful because at this time of year, often the bird's nests are left. The birds have flown. There's nothing left in them except maybe just a few little feathers. And then we've got here the rose hips. They're bright berries, they're shiny, they're glossy. They almost want you to reach out and touch them. They're going to make a fabulous addition to all of our paper crafting. And then we've got the privet berries. These are our privet berries. We've got the pheasants. Now, the pheasants, these are the feathers, the pheasant feathers. Very carefully said, I have to tell you. Coming on to the next one, and I've got to start thinking more about the names of these dies because I don't often make it hard. These are right tongue twisters. This one is Veronica. That's another one of our wildflowers you'll see in the woodland. Then we've got a foliage panel. Now, a square foliage panel with the catkins hanging down the middle. It really is an exquisite die. This is the focal point of the whole card. And then the catkins on their own. All of the elements that you're going to see around our British forests out there in the countryside, but we haven't finished. So let's take a look at the frames we've got. Now these really are where the story starts. So the first one we've got is called Home Field, and it's called Home Field Clearing. So it's when you walk through the woods and the trees start to get a little bit lighter, and as you get through them, the clearing just opens up and you can see into the countryside. The next one that we've got is called, again, the Home Field Clearing, and here you're seeing with the Charisma how it starts to build and the colour is going to actually start to tell our story. We've also then got, this is my favourite of the whole collection, I hope it becomes yours. This is actually the Wingfield Wood. And these dies named from places around Derbyshire, a little bit close to where we are. So we're also bringing you into our home county. And then you can see with the Charisma how this whole collection works. But wait to see what happens when you bring the whole thing together. Oh my goodness. This really is a walk through the woodland. Oops, there you're seeing the two different designs, all of the elements coming together. We've got the frames and then we've got these beautiful florals that are part of that collection, using the Charisma and the backgrounds that are on the USB. And then there into the clearing. And again, this is before we start putting all of those fabulous little animals in and really building up the design. Let's get crafting. So I'm going to move all of these out of the way, but before I do anything else, I want to show you, whoops, all the different Charisma pages. So for anybody who doesn't know Charisma, Charisma was started because many, many years ago, we used to cut everything out by hand. And I can tell you that taking a pair of scissors, this would have been interesting, and trying to cut into all these little pieces would have been absolutely impossible. And we'd have ended up I'd have probably ended up with a sprig about that big. So we actually refined our scissor skills and our knife skills, and we all got better and better at it, but it used to take a very long time. And we still wouldn't even tackled as an expert areas like this. And then die cutting came along. Oh my goodness me. Did that ever make a difference? It made us all equal. It meant that you're as good as I am. It doesn't matter how many hours I practice, you're going to be just as good as me. Because that die goes over the top of your charisma, and it cuts it out. So this piece here becomes cut using our die cutting machine and those fabulous dies. So let's look at all the different charisma pieces, and these are the designs that you are going to be getting. Now, what we've also done on every single one of them is put as much on there as possible, so that not only are you getting the elements to build the design, but you've also got things like this. You've got these little pieces of decoupage, so all the extra little leaves are there for you. And then you can see how we filled the pages, every element of it. I love the pheasant feathers and the berries. This just reminds me of the season, and it reminds me of those fabulous, those cold winter days where it's a little bit frosty. And you know, when you breathe and it all the sort of the air turns white, and it just feels really, really special. Okay, so they're all the different designs. We've had a quick look at those. Let's get started crafting. And I've got to say a huge thank you to the lovely Lily, because Lily's helped me prep all of this so that I can actually do all the other things that I'm doing. But I want to try and bring you more videos, and I'm just going to move this so that you're not listening to that clunking. So this is one of the scenes that we've actually got on the collection, and it's on the USB. And the nice thing about it is I can choose which part of it I want to work with. So I can work so that I've got the foreground, the very front of it. So when I'm putting my animals in, they're right at the front, and I'm starting to create perspective. So you can see how we're looking into the forest. If I move those out of the way and I take it up a little bit, I'm now looking at a totally different view of what that forest floor looks like. And this would be where I might take my little rabbits, and I might then choose to put one of them behind the frame and one of them in front. So they look like they've just actually met across the forest floor. And that is one of the fabulous things about this collection, is the versatility and the fact that each of the pictures tells a story. So here we've got the largest of those frame dies, and I'm just going to come back to the board because I want to be able to show you where these elements have come from. So this is going to be my basic card shape, and you can see how if I find the right piece and it's there, that actually fits that outer die. Now in this part of the die collection, we've got the outer die, the inner die, and we've also got the frame there. If I take this piece, and let me get the right orientation for you, and it is, of course, it's going to go that way. No, it's not. It's going to go that way. It's like doing a jigsaw puzzle, isn't it? And that reminds me, spending hours and hours doing jigsaw puzzles with my mother when I'm my mum. God, that was very formal, wasn't it, with my mother? I've heard that. She used to say that. Don't you answer your mother back? And spending weeks doing this jigsaw. It was about as big as this table, and there was one piece missing. Oh my goodness. My brother had pinched it. I'll never forget that. That was like, your mother wants you. So you can see here how I've taken that piece and I've taken that panel inside. Do you know, isn't it interesting how when we're crafting, just the things pop into your head. Stuff pops in mine all the time, but also it reminds you memories, you know, stuff we did when we were children. That literally, just moving that piece around reminded me of the days doing jigsaw puzzles. Okay, so piece of white card, and it's been scored along the top edge, just about 1/2 centimetre from the top, enough to be able to get that red liner tape on. Not so far down, because we want this to be a sturdy tent card. And then I'm going to take the other colour, and I'm going to just put that over the top. But again, I've got to make sure that I line these elements up. So instead of starting at the top where the glue is, I've started at this bottom corner, because if it isn't going to fit down here, I'm going to need to rotate the cardstock. So we'll just get that in place like that. Okay, and then there's our tent card to work with. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put this frame on. And I'll get the bunnies out. They're having a bit of fun in there. And I'm going to pop this over the top. Now, when it comes to gluing this down, there's a lot of very, very small pieces that you could think, well, I need to touch every single piece. If you're somebody that wants to make sure it's glued really properly, so the whole thing is completely flat, then you're going to need to use a spray adhesive here. That's an option. But I think the best option for this is to go down the middle of each of these little leaves. And we don't necessarily need to have the whole thing so that it's completely flat. A little bit of movement in those leaves reminds us of when the wind's blowing and the trees are moving. So I'm just going really, I'm being really clean today, aren't I? This week I've been filming some videos for something really special that's happening with Ink Lily. And I actually had to stop halfway and got asked to go and wash my hands because I was so covered in inks. And then about an hour later got asked to go and change my top because I'd got ink all over that too. And it's not that the product's messy, it just so happens that I might be a little bit. So I'm quite impressed today. Anybody that normally watches will know it's normally a lot messier than this. So got that glue down, and so what I've done is I've gone into the areas where it's sort of a slightly larger surface area. Now, before I pick this up and I turn it over and I place it down, and I'm trying to work out where it all lines up, I'm just going to move it round the frame like this and think about where it's going to go, because that was not going to work because I've got to turn it over. Okay, let's just go for it. Wow, look at that. That is absolutely stunning. The little leaves, the shadows, the dimension, the whole thing really is just coming to life. Then the next thing we need to do is take the background and place that inside. Now, one of the things that I'm glad I've done here is by not sticking these leaves down, I haven't, and I'm going to show you on the card that I've got here, because what you'll notice is, in fact, this one's very forgiving too, making sure that this actual frame and the design all line up on top of each other actually doesn't matter, because the way that the leaves have been designed, they come to life and they lift up. So I'm not going to worry about that anymore, and neither should you. So that's the nice thing about the way that this has been designed. So let me just tell you a little bit about, I can't resist telling you stories, a little bit about one of the things. I'll just make sure I'm going to stick this on right while I'm talking to you. One of the things about doing video and stuff like that, and the fun bits of it all, are that you get to not only play with the product, but also get to share tips and techniques and ideas. And I was working with the new Ink Lily sparkle pens, the ones that got me into trouble, and hand washes and stuff. And I'd been colouring this snowman, and he was looking absolutely perfect until I swapped colours to do his nose. And of course it was a carrot, and of course that started me laughing. And the next thing is I blobbed, and it wasn't a carrot, it looked like a great big pumpkin. So he ended up, I don't think he's going to make it to the promotional video. I think he got sideswiped and he's been put on the pumpkin heap. But anyway, I did ask if I could have an outtake. So we'll see. We might get one. If we do, I'll definitely share it with you. So, yeah, I was so proud. He looked so good. I'd done really, really good shading. You know, when you do something, you make a card and you look at it and you go, wow, that's really good. I don't even know if I want to give it away. Well, I was really, really proud of it. And then I got so distracted by the carrot that, talk about blob, it was the biggest blob going. It really did look like a giant pumpkin. Let me talk to you about the composition then. So you saw me just picking up and lifting up these little leaves that we've got here. And I've done that because I want them to almost come over the edge as we're looking into the woodland. And then I've put these beautiful little tiny flowers in the background, the foliage that's there that we see in the wood, and then I'm going to put the catkins to the side. Now, I could have put these behind, but the effect that you get is completely different. And I really don't think that, although this is very fine, I like the idea that we've got something that's fuller and strong right at the front of the card. So we're going to take that and put this in here. I can already hear how busy this is going to be, because when we get our samples back from our design team, the more they love it, the more samples they send us. You should see the boxes that we've got to share with you and the ideas. Please don't miss out joining us on the show. And then finally, to finish off, I've got my deer that I can put at the front, or I can put my little bunny rabbits, or I can have my little hare. And I actually think I want both of them, because it looks to me like they're best friends and they've just met for a chat. And that one is going to come off the frame behind the foliage, and this one is going to sit as if he's just coming through the forest. So, two best friends meeting for a chat in the forest on a lovely frosty morning. We need frost. Right, let's find the frost. It's just a little bit of glitter. Oh, that could have been a disaster, couldn't it? Let's put a little bit of frost just here on the trees. And good little tip, take one of your sticks and just do what I'm doing. Let the glue just sit wherever it wants to fall, and you'll end up with that little bit of frost just coming through. Right, here we go. Don't worry about this. Can you remember when I told you I tipped glitter all over Carl's car? He's never forgiven me. Well, he did actually, but he sold the car soon after, and it still had it all over the place. Look at that. So those little twists of glitter and the little twists of frost are there, just finishing this off. See you soon, everybody, and don't forget to join us sometime this week.